I watched in complete horror as my 11-year-old nephew Tyler deliberately swung a baseball bat into my prized 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard worth $9,000. The guitar exploded into splinters across my home studio floor while Tyler laughed maniacally. My sister Sarah stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, smirking coldly. "He's just a child, August. You're supposed to forgive family." The family gathering erupted as relatives took sides, but I said absolutely nothing. I simply stared at the destruction, a calculated plan already forming in my mind about Sarah's husband's pristine Mercedes. Let me back up and explain how this nightmare began. I'm August, 32 years old, and I've been a professional session musician in Nashville for 8 years. That Gibson wasn't just any guitar. I'd saved for 3 grueling years working double shifts at music venues, teaching guitar lessons to screaming kids, and playing wedding gigs in smoky dive bars, just to afford it. Every penny I earned went toward that dream instrument. The 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard represented everything I'd worked for in my career. It wasn't just wood and metal. This guitar was my ticket into Nashville's elite session musician circle, the tool that separated amateur players from professionals who recorded with major country stars. The vintage tone from that specific year model was legendary among musicians. Record producers specifically requested players who owned authentic 50s Les Pauls, because digital recreations couldn't capture that organic warmth. Our annual family reunion always took place at my childhood home in Franklin, Tennessee, about 20 minutes south of Nashville. I'd driven down from my apartment carrying the Gibson in its custom case, planning to play during our traditional family talent show. This year felt special because I'd finally achieved the success I'd dreamed about since childhood. My sister Sarah arrived fashionably late with her husband Marcus and their son Tyler. Sarah, 35, had always harbored deep resentment toward my musical career. While I struggled through years of financial uncertainty, pursuing my passion, she'd married Marcus Whitman, a successful real estate developer who showered her with luxury. Sarah traded love for security, and she'd spent years making sure everyone knew she'd chosen the practical path. Marcus owned Whitman Properties, one of Franklin's most prominent commercial development companies. He drove a pristine white 2023 Mercedes S-Class sedan worth over $100,000. The car wasn't just transportation for Marcus. It was his statement piece, his way of announcing his wealth and status to everyone around him. I'd watched him spend countless hours detailing that vehicle, treating it like a sacred artifact. Their son Tyler embodied everything wrong with overindulgent parenting. At 11 years old, he'd never faced consequences for destructive behavior. Sarah and Marcus gave him whatever he demanded, believing that material gifts could substitute for actual guidance and boundaries. Tyler had broken relatives' belongings at previous gatherings, but his parents always dismissed these incidents as normal childhood exploration. I was upstairs in my old bedroom carefully tuning the Gibson for that evening's performance when Tyler barged in without knocking. The room still contained remnants of my teenage years, including my Little League baseball bat mounted on the wall next to faded posters of guitar legends. "I want to play that fancy guitar right now," Tyler demanded, pointing at my instrument with chocolate-stained fingers. I set the guitar aside and knelt down to his eye level, speaking gently. "This guitar is really fragile, Tyler. It's older than your dad. How about I let you try my acoustic guitar instead? It's much easier to play, and you won't have to worry about damaging anything valuable." Tyler's face twisted into an ugly scowl. "I don't want your stupid cheap guitar. I want the expensive one Mom says I can have whatever I want when I visit Grandma and Grandpa's house. I understand you're excited about music, but this particular guitar requires very careful handling. Tell you what, after dinner, I'll teach you some basic chords on the acoustic, and maybe next year, when you're a little older, I'll show you how this one works." What happened next still haunts me. Tyler's tantrum wasn't typical childhood frustration. His rage was calculated, deliberate, and terrifying. He grabbed my old baseball bat from the wall mount and raised it above his head like a medieval weapon. I lunged forward to stop him, but Tyler was already swinging with surprising force for his age. The bat connected with the Gibson's body, and I heard the sickening sound of rare Brazilian rosewood cracking. The impact sent the guitar flying across the room where it slammed into my old dresser. The neck snapped cleanly in half strings, curling like dying snakes. The beautiful sunburst finish, aged to perfection over 60-plus years, was now split into jagged fragments. Tyler stood over the wreckage, laughing with genuine delight. "There, now nobody can play your stupid guitar. That's what you get for telling me no." The commotion brought family members rushing upstairs. My parents, Bob and Linda, burst through the door, first followed immediately by Sarah and Marcus. Instead of horror at the destruction, I saw something much worse in their expressions: indifference, mixed with barely concealed satisfaction. "Tyler, what happened here?" my mother asked, but her tone held no real concern or anger. "Uncle August wouldn't let me play his guitar, so I taught him a lesson about sharing," Tyler announced proudly. My father surveyed the damage and shook his head dismissively. "Well, August, this is what happens when you bring expensive toys around children. Boys will be boys. Tyler's just being a normal kid." Sarah stepped forward with that familiar smirk I'd seen countless times during our childhood, when she'd gotten me in trouble. "August, I'm disappointed in you. You know Tyler gets excited about music. You should have been supervising him better. Material things don't matter compared to family relationships. You're supposed to be teaching him about forgiveness, not holding grudges over broken objects." Marcus nodded approvingly at his wife's words. "Sarah's absolutely right. In my business, I deal with property damage claims all the time. These things happen. The important lesson here is teaching Tyler that accidents don't define relationships." I stood there in stunned silence, surrounded by the remains of my professional future, while my family lectured me about forgiveness and supervision. Not one person acknowledged the deliberate destruction or expressed sympathy for my loss. They treated Tyler's violence like a minor mishap rather than a devastating attack on my livelihood. "Everyone makes mistakes," my mother added gently. "Tyler didn't understand how much that guitar meant to you. But now, you have an opportunity to show him what real Christian forgiveness looks like." The twisted climax of this scene occurred when I overheard Tyler whispering to Marcus, while the adults continued their forgiveness lecture. "Mommy said Uncle August thinks he's better than us because of his stupid guitar. So I taught him a lesson, like you taught me." Marcus ruffled Tyler's hair approvingly. "That's my boy. Sometimes people need to learn that family comes before pride." Sarah had coached her son to destroy my guitar. This wasn't Tyler's impulsive tantrum. This was premeditated destruction designed to humiliate me in front of our entire family. Sarah had weaponized her child's natural impulsiveness to deliver a crushing blow to my career and self-respect. The realization hit me like ice water. My sister had orchestrated this attack because she couldn't stand watching me achieve success through talent and dedication, while she'd settled for financial security through marriage. She wanted to prove that my dreams were foolish, that material possessions made people vulnerable, and that her practical choices were superior to my artistic pursuits. Standing there among the fragments of my professional life, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to argue or defend myself. I wasn't going to lecture anyone about respect or responsibility. I was going to let my family's own lesson teach them something they'd never forget. Sleep was impossible that night. I lay in my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, while my mind raced through the implications of losing that guitar. The destroyed instrument represented far more than $9,000 in savings. It was my reputation, my future recording opportunities, and my credibility within Nashville's competitive session musician community. I spent hours on my phone researching everything I could find about Tyler and Sarah's recent behavior. What I discovered painted a disturbing picture of systematic manipulation and family sabotage. Sarah had been conducting a whisper campaign against me for months, telling extended family members that I was becoming pretentious and thinking I was better than everyone else because of my music career success. Aunt Margaret had received calls from Sarah complaining that I was putting on airs and acting like a celebrity just because I'd started recording with established artists. Cousin Jennifer later told me that Sarah had been asking relatives whether they thought I was getting too big for my britches and needed someone to knock me down a peg. The insurance revelation came at dawn when I called my homeowner's policy company. The customer service representative delivered devastating news with bureaucratic indifference. Musical instruments over $5,000 in value require separate documentation and additional premium payments. Your current policy covers standard household items up to $2,000 for individual pieces. I faced an $8,000 loss that would destroy my savings and force me to sell my recording equipment just to pay rent. The financial devastation was immediate and complete. Years of careful budgeting and sacrifice had been obliterated by one swing of a baseball bat. But Marcus had revealed something crucial during his property damage speech the previous evening. I'd listened carefully to his words about dealing with insurance claims and property destruction in his business. Marcus was an expert at understanding vulnerabilities in other people's financial security. He knew exactly how much damage Tyler's action would cause to my career and livelihood. During breakfast preparation, I positioned myself near the kitchen window, where I could observe Marcus inspecting his Mercedes. His morning ritual was obsessive and revealing. He spent 45 minutes cleaning invisible dust from the paint, checking tire pressure, and examining every surface for microscopic imperfections. This wasn't normal car maintenance. This was worship. Marcus had purchased the Mercedes as an investment-grade limited edition model that appreciated in value rather than depreciating like typical vehicles. I overheard him bragging to my father about the car's financial benefits while describing his insurance strategy. "I only carry liability coverage because nothing's going to happen to it in my private garage," Marcus explained proudly. "Comprehensive coverage on a vehicle worth that much would cost more than most people's car payments. Besides, I'm extremely careful with my possessions, unlike some people who leave expensive items lying around where children can reach them." That revelation was crucial. Marcus had no comprehensive insurance coverage for collision theft or vandalism damage. His investment-grade Mercedes was completely vulnerable to exactly the same type of accident that had destroyed my guitar. Marcus's financial security was built on the assumption that his careful control could prevent random destructive events. My cousin Jennifer approached me privately while I was processing this information. She'd driven up from Memphis specifically to warn me about Sarah's increasingly toxic behavior toward our family members. August. "I need to tell you something that's been weighing on my mind," Jennifer said quietly. "Sarah called me 3 weeks ago, asking if I thought you were getting too full of yourself because of your music career. She said someone needed to teach you humility before you completely forgot where you came from." Jennifer revealed that Sarah had been systematically contacting relatives planting seeds of resentment about my professional success. Sarah told people that I was acting like I was better than the family, and that my career achievements were making me arrogant and disconnected from my roots. "She specifically mentioned your guitar multiple times," Jennifer continued. "Sarah said it was ridiculous for someone to spend that much money on an instrument when there were practical family needs to consider. She kept saying that someone should teach you a lesson about what really matters in life." The picture became crystal clear. Sarah's jealousy had been building for months, possibly years. She couldn't tolerate watching me achieve success through talent and hard work, while she'd chosen financial security through marriage. My guitar represented everything she resented about my life choices: independence, artistic achievement, and recognition based on merit rather than social connections. When I approached my parents for support, their response revealed the true family dynamics at play. They were sitting on the front porch, enjoying their morning coffee, while discussing Tyler's accident with the guitar. "August, we understand you're upset about your guitar," my father said diplomatically. "But Tyler's just a child. He didn't understand the financial value of what he was breaking. You're an adult who should know better than to hold material possessions over family relationships." My mother nodded sympathetically while delivering the crushing blow. "We've talked about this, and we think you should publicly forgive Tyler at tonight's family dinner. It would be a wonderful example of Christian grace, and it might help heal some of the tension that's developed around your music career." They wanted me to perform forgiveness for the entertainment of relatives who had enabled and celebrated my professional destruction. The message was clear. My feelings, my financial loss, and my career damage were less important than maintaining Sarah's comfort and avoiding conflict with Marcus's money. But the most revealing discovery came that evening, when I overheard Marcus talking privately with a business associate on his cell phone. I was returning from a walk when I heard his voice drifting through the open window of the guest room where he was staying. "You should have seen the look on that pretentious musician's face when his precious guitar got destroyed," Marcus was saying with obvious satisfaction. "Sarah handled it perfectly. Sometimes people need to learn their place in the family hierarchy, especially when they start thinking they're special, because they can strum a few chords." Marcus continued bragging about their calculated humiliation of me. "The best part is that everyone thinks it was just a childhood accident. Nobody realizes we planned this whole thing to teach August some humility. He's been walking around here like he's some kind of celebrity just because he plays backup music for real stars." The conversation revealed Marcus and Sarah's true characters. They were bullies who used manipulation and intimidation to maintain their position within the family power structure. They saw my success as a threat to their status and had conspired to destroy something precious to me as a demonstration of their control. Marcus had experience with this type of psychological warfare. Jennifer later told me about a business rival whose classic car had been mysteriously damaged outside a restaurant where Marcus had been dining. Marcus had bragged about how accidents happen to people who cross me, and how convenient it was that the man's insurance had lapsed. Now I understood exactly what kind of people I was dealing with. Sarah and Marcus weren't just enabling Tyler's destructive behavior. They were actively using him as a weapon to hurt family members who threatened their sense of superiority. They had turned an 11-year-old child into an instrument of calculated cruelty. Standing in the darkness outside that window, listening to Marcus celebrate the destruction of my career, I felt something cold and determined settle into my mind. Sarah had taught me a valuable lesson about family dynamics, consequences, and the difference between accidents and deliberate destruction. Tomorrow, I was going to return the favor by teaching Marcus the same lesson he'd helped Sarah teach me. The beautiful irony was that I'd be using Sarah's exact words and philosophy to justify everything that was about to happen to Marcus's precious investment-grade Mercedes. After all, family members were supposed to forgive each other for accidents involving material possessions that didn't really matter compared to learning important life lessons about humility and priorities. I spent the early morning hours wrestling with my conscience, remembering my late grandmother's teachings about forgiveness and turning the other cheek. Grandma Rose had raised me with strong moral principles about treating others with kindness, even when they hurt you. But she'd also taught me that sometimes people need to experience consequences for their actions before they can truly understand the pain they've caused others. August Honey. She used to tell me while we sat on her back porch, "There's a difference between forgiveness and being a doormat. True forgiveness requires the other person to acknowledge what they've done wrong and show genuine remorse. If someone keeps hurting you because they know you'll always forgive them without consequences, that's not Christianity. That's enabling sin." The professional consequences of losing my guitar hit me like a freight train when my phone rang at 7:30 that morning. Jake Morrison, one of Nashville's most respected country music producers, was calling about a major recording session scheduled for the following Tuesday. "August, I hope you're ready to bring that sweet vintage Gibson sound to the studio next week," Jake said enthusiastically. Carrie Underwood's team specifically requested a session player with an authentic 50s Les Paul for her new album. The digital recreations just can't capture that organic warmth we need for these tracks. My stomach dropped as I explained what had happened to the guitar. Jake's excitement deflated instantly. "Oh man, that's devastating news. I'm really sorry to hear about your family situation, but unfortunately, we can't move forward without that specific vintage tone. The artist and her management team were very clear about the sound requirements. The session would have paid $15,000 for 3 days of recording work. More importantly, it would have connected me with Carrie Underwood's production team, opening doors to future collaborations with other major artists. My career momentum had stopped dead because of Tyler's baseball bat and Sarah's jealousy. I spent the morning carefully observing Marcus's relationship with his Mercedes, documenting his obsessive maintenance routine and emotional attachment to the vehicle. Marcus treated that car like a beloved family member, speaking to it gently while applying special wax and adjusting its position in the driveway to avoid tree shadows. This paint job is worth more than most people's entire cars, Marcus told my father while polishing invisible scuff marks. The limited edition, pearl white finish requires specific products and techniques to maintain its investment value. I fly in a detailing specialist from Atlanta every 3 months, just to keep it in pristine condition. Marcus parked the Mercedes, strategically taking up 2 parking spaces to prevent door dings from other vehicles. He checked on it multiple times throughout the day, adjusting its position to follow shade patterns and avoid potential hazards like falling leaves or bird droppings. The family dinner that evening became a carefully orchestrated humiliation ritual designed to cement Sarah's victory over me. She'd spent the afternoon coaching Tyler on how to deliver a fake apology that would maximize my public embarrassment while maintaining his innocence. "Tyler has something very special to say to Uncle August," Sarah announced to the assembled relatives, positioning her son in the center of the dining room, where everyone could witness his performance. Tyler stood there with an unpracticed expression of false remorse, delivering words that Sarah had obviously rehearsed with him. "I'm really sorry I broke your guitar, Uncle August. But Mom explained that it was just a toy, and toys can be replaced. What really matters is family love and forgiveness." The relatives nodded approvingly at Tyler's mature wisdom, while Sarah beamed with pride at her son's articulate demonstration of family values. Tyler then ruined the effect by smirking at me and adding, "Besides, you can just buy another one, right? It's not like someone died or anything." Sarah immediately followed Tyler's apology by announcing her newest manipulation tactic. "I've decided to start a special family fund to help Tyler with his baseball equipment and future sports activities. I think it would be wonderful if everyone contributed to support his athletic development." She passed around an envelope, expecting each family member to donate money toward Tyler's baseball gear. The psychological warfare was obvious. Sarah wanted me to financially contribute toward the child who had destroyed my career, demonstrating my complete submission to her authority within the family hierarchy. When the envelope reached me, I politely declined to contribute. "I'm dealing with some unexpected financial challenges right now, so I won't be able to help with Tyler's equipment fund." Sarah's eyes flashed with triumph as she prepared to deliver her killing blow. "Everyone, please observe this carefully. This is who August really is underneath all his musical pretensions. He's too selfish to help his own nephew because of a broken toy. Tyler, I want you to remember this lesson about the difference between people who truly love family and people who only care about material possessions." The entire room erupted in applause for Sarah's profound wisdom about family priorities and unconditional love. Relatives nodded sagely at her insightful analysis of my character defects, while Tyler absorbed his mother's lesson about Uncle August's fundamental selfishness. "Sarah's absolutely right," my mother declared emotionally. "August, this is your opportunity to show Tyler what real forgiveness looks like. Your grandmother would be ashamed to see you holding a grudge over something that can be replaced when family relationships are permanent." Marcus pulled me aside after dinner with the cold confidence of someone who'd won a decisive victory. His words revealed the calculated nature of everything that had happened since Tyler's accident with my guitar. "Your sister's right about your attitude problem," Marcus said quietly. "In my world of commercial real estate, when someone shows weakness, they get stepped on. Tyler learned that lesson from watching me handle business negotiations." Maybe you should learn it too, instead of whining about broken toys. Marcus continued with obvious satisfaction. You've spent years thinking you were special, because you can play music. But this weekend proved that talent doesn't matter as much as understanding power dynamics. Sarah and I have real success built on practical decisions, not childhood fantasies about being a rock star. That evening, I overheard Marcus bragging to his business associate during another phone call. This time, he was sitting on the back porch describing the weekend's events with sadistic pleasure. We completely broke that pretentious musician's spirit, Marcus was saying. Sarah orchestrated the whole thing perfectly. Tyler destroyed his precious guitar the family cited against him, and now he's too financially devastated to rebuild his career momentum. It was beautiful watching someone learn their place in the family hierarchy. Marcus revealed his true motivations with chilling clarity. The best part is that everyone thinks we're the reasonable ones. Sarah's position as the successful family member is now unquestioned, and August has been put back in his place as the struggling artist who needs family charity to survive. He described me as a pathetic loser who thinks strumming a guitar makes him special, and explained how my professional setback would benefit Sarah's status within our extended family. Marcus had calculated every aspect of my destruction, from the financial impact, to the social humiliation, to the long-term career consequences. Listening to Marcus celebrate my pain while planning his return to Franklin with Sarah and Tyler, I felt the last remnants of doubt disappear from my mind. This wasn't about forgiveness or family harmony. This was about power control and the systematic destruction of anyone who threatened Marcus and Sarah's sense of superiority. They'd used Tyler as a weapon to hurt me, then used my pain as entertainment for the extended family. They'd turned my devastation into a morality lesson about materialism and pride, all while celebrating their victory in private conversations. Tomorrow morning, Marcus would learn exactly what his wife had taught me about family lessons, material possessions, and the importance of forgiveness when accidents happened to people who needed to understand humility. The beautiful symmetry of the situation was that I'd be using Sarah's exact words and philosophy to justify everything that was about to happen to Marcus's investment-grade Mercedes. After all, it would just be an accident involving a material possession that didn't really matter compared to family relationships and learning important life lessons about not being attached to expensive toys. The final family gathering day arrived with clear skies and perfect weather for the traditional lake photo session. Every year, our extended family drove to Percy Priest Lake for group pictures that would become next year's Christmas cards and social media posts. The ritual required several hours of coordinating outfits, arranging family groups, and capturing multi-generational memories. Marcus had positioned his Mercedes in my parents' driveway with mathematical precision, ensuring optimal shade coverage while maintaining security from potential hazards. He'd left the keys on the kitchen counter because, as he'd announced to everyone, family members would never disrespect someone else's property. The irony of that statement wasn't lost on me as I watched the caravan of vehicles departing for the lake. Marcus rode with Sarah and Tyler in my father's truck, leaving his precious Mercedes behind, like a pearl in an unguarded oyster shell. I waited until every family member had disappeared down the country road before approaching Tyler, who was playing with a handheld video game in the back seat of my father's truck. The convoy had stopped at a gas station about 5 miles from the house, giving me the perfect opportunity to implement Sarah's educational philosophy. "Tyler, can I talk to you privately for a minute?" I asked gently, motioning him away from the adults who were busy purchasing snacks and drinks. Tyler followed me to a quiet area behind the gas station, curious about why Uncle August wanted to have a conversation after yesterday's family dinner drama. "Your mom taught me something really important yesterday." I began kneeling down to his eye level with a calm, instructional tone. She explained that material things don't matter and that accidents happen to teach people lessons about forgiveness and humility. "Today, you're going to help Uncle August teach your dad the same valuable lesson your mom taught me." Tyler's eyes widened with interest as I continued explaining the educational opportunity ahead of us. Remember how your mom said that toys can be replaced, but family lessons are permanent. Well, your dad's car is just a really expensive toy, and he needs to learn that lesson about not being attached to material possessions. You're going to help me teach him exactly what you taught me about sharing and forgiveness. I guided Tyler back to my father's truck and whispered the plan to him during the drive back to the house. Tyler was initially hesitant, but I used Sarah's exact reasoning to convince him that this was a positive learning experience. This isn't about hurting your dad, I explained carefully. This is about helping him become a better person who understands what really matters in life. Your mom would be proud of you for teaching such an important lesson about priorities and humility. When we arrived at my parents' house, I retrieved Tyler's baseball bat from my old bedroom while he waited nervously in the driveway. The same Louisville Slugger that had destroyed my guitar would now serve as an educational tool for Marcus's benefit. Tyler, this is exactly what you did to my guitar, I said calmly, demonstrating the proper batting stance near the Mercedes. Your mom explained that it was just a lesson about not being attached to expensive things. Now your dad gets to learn the same lesson you taught me. I guided Tyler's hands as he gripped the bat, positioning him for maximum impact against the driver's side door panel. Remember, this is about teaching forgiveness and understanding that material objects don't define our worth as people. Your dad will thank us for this lesson once he learns to let go of his pride about owning expensive toys. Tyler's first swing created a satisfying dent in the pristine pearl white paint, revealing the metal underneath, like exposed bone. The sound of aluminum connecting with German engineering was sharper and more final than the wooden crack of my guitar's destruction. That felt different than I expected, Tyler said quietly, staring at the damage he'd just inflicted. That's because you're starting to understand how it feels when someone destroys something precious to you, I replied gently. This is exactly what I felt yesterday when you broke my guitar. Your dad's car is his pride and joy, just like that guitar was mine. Tyler's second swing targeted the rear passenger door, creating a longer scratch that ran from the window down to the door handle. The limited edition paint job that Marcus had described as worth more than most people's entire cars was now permanently scarred. Uncle August, I don't think I want to do this anymore, Tyler said, lowering the bat with trembling hands. I understand you're feeling nervous, I responded calmly. This is the same feeling I had yesterday when I watched you destroy my guitar. But your mom explained that these feelings don't matter compared to the important lesson being taught. Material things can be repaired or replaced, but the wisdom gained from this experience will help your dad grow as a person. Tyler's third and final swing was the most devastating, connecting with the front fender and creating a spider web of cracks in the expensive paint finish. The impact also dented the metal underneath, ensuring that repairs would require complete panel replacement rather than simple touch-up work. As Tyler stared at the destruction he'd caused, I watched his face transform from excitement to horror to genuine understanding. For the first time in his 11 years, Tyler was experiencing the weight of consequences and the reality of how his actions affected other people. "Oh no," Tyler whispered, dropping the bat and backing away from the Mercedes. "Dad's going to be so angry. He loves this car more than anything. What have I done?" "This is exactly what you did to my guitar," I explained patiently. "Your mom said it was just a lesson about not being attached to material things. Now your dad gets to learn the same lesson you taught me about forgiveness and priorities." Tyler began crying as the magnitude of his actions sank in. He was finally comprehending the pain he'd caused me, understanding that destruction wasn't a game or a way to assert power over adults who disappointed him. "I didn't know it would feel this bad," Tyler sobbed. "I thought breaking your guitar was funny because Mom said it would teach you a lesson. But seeing Dad's car like this makes me feel sick inside." The transformation in Tyler's character was immediate and profound. The entitled, destructive child was replaced by a genuinely remorseful young person who understood the connection between actions and consequences. When the family convoy returned from their gas station stop, Marcus practically skipped across the driveway toward his beloved Mercedes, ready to move it to a better parking position for the lake trip's departure. His joy was infectious as he approached what he considered the crown jewel of his material possessions. The moment Marcus saw the damage, his reaction was volcanic. He screamed with the intensity that brought neighbors to their windows, his voice cracking as he surveyed the destroyed paint job and dented panels. "What the hell happened to my car?" Marcus roared, his face turning purple with rage. "Who did this to my Mercedes?" The family members rushed over to witness Marcus's emotional breakdown, which was approximately 10 times more intense than my quiet response to Tyler's guitar destruction. Marcus was sobbing, hyperventilating, and threatening to call police, insurance investigators, and personal injury lawyers. "This is a $100,000 vehicle," Marcus shrieked. "This paint job alone costs more than most people make in a year. Someone's going to pay for every penny of this damage." Sarah tried to calm her husband, but Marcus turned on her with frightening fury. "Your worthless family did this. Your brother put Tyler up to this. I should have known better than to trust these people around my property." The beautiful climactic twist occurred when Sarah attempted to use her own philosophy to calm Marcus's rage. Standing beside the destroyed Mercedes with her hands outstretched in a peacemaking gesture, she delivered her yesterday's speech with desperate sincerity. "Marcus, honey, calm down. Tyler's just a child. You're supposed to forgive family. Material things don't matter compared to family relationships. This is just a learning opportunity about not being attached to expensive possessions." Marcus stared at his wife with the expression of someone who'd just been betrayed by their closest ally. "Are you insane? This car is worth more than your entire family combined. Your worthless brother put our son up to this because he's jealous of our success." The family dynamics exploded into chaos as Marcus revealed his true feelings about Sarah's relatives, calling us trailer trash, and threatening to destroy all of you financially through lawsuits and property liens. The mask of polite tolerance that Marcus had worn throughout the weekend was completely shattered, exposing the contempt and arrogance underneath. The family reunion transformed into a war zone as Marcus's rage consumed what remained of his civilized facade. He stood beside his destroyed Mercedes, screaming threats and accusations, while family members watched in stunned silence. The man who'd appeared sophisticated and controlled throughout the weekend was now revealed as an unstable bully whose entire identity depended on material symbols of success. "I want everyone to understand something very clearly," Marcus bellowed at the assembled relatives. "This family has cost me a fortune today, and someone's going to pay for every penny of damage, plus punitive consequences for deliberately targeting my property." Sarah desperately tried to salvage her marriage by backpedaling from her forgiveness philosophy. "Marcus, please calm down. We can figure out how to handle this situation without involving lawyers or police. Tyler obviously didn't understand the value of what he was damaging." "Don't you dare try to minimize this," Marcus snapped at his wife. "Yesterday, you lectured your brother about forgiveness when Tyler destroyed his guitar, but now that our finances are affected, suddenly damage matters. You're a hypocrite and a terrible mother who raised a destructive little monster." My parents, who had defended Tyler's guitar destruction as normal childhood behavior, now panicked as they realized Marcus's threats could affect their property values and social standing in Franklin's community. They approached me with desperate pleading expressions. "August, you have to help us fix this situation," my father begged. "Marcus is talking about involving attorneys and insurance investigators. This could ruin Tyler's future if he gets arrested for vandalism." "We know you're upset about your guitar," my mother added frantically, "but surely you can understand that Tyler's just a confused child who made a mistake. Can't you talk to Marcus about finding some reasonable compromise?" I responded to my parents using Sarah's exact words from the previous day. "Material things don't matter compared to family relationships. This is just a lesson about forgiveness and not being attached to expensive possessions." Marcus should be grateful for this learning opportunity about what really matters in life. Sarah's desperation reached new levels as she realized her marriage and financial security were crumbling. She pulled me aside for a private conversation, offering the first genuine negotiation of the entire weekend. August. I'll admit that maybe I was wrong about how we handled your guitar situation, Sarah said quietly. If you can convince Marcus not to press charges against Tyler, I'll pay to replace your guitar with something even better. I looked at my sister with calm curiosity. That's interesting, Sarah. Yesterday you explained that material things don't matter, and that I should be teaching Tyler about forgiveness, instead of holding grudges over broken objects. Has your philosophy about material possessions changed since this morning? Sarah's facade cracked as she realized her own words were being used against her. That's different. Marcus is my husband, and Tyler is my son. This could destroy our family's future if Marcus follows through on his legal threats. So when Tyler destroyed my career and financial security, that was a learning opportunity about humility, I replied evenly. But when Tyler damages Marcus's car, that's a family emergency requiring immediate intervention and compensation. Help me understand why your forgiveness philosophy only applies to other people's losses. Tyler, who had been listening to his parents' escalating conflict, approached us with genuine remorse written across his face. The transformation in his character was remarkable compared to his triumphant laughter after destroying my guitar. Uncle August. I'm really sorry about your guitar, Tyler said with authentic emotion. I didn't understand how much it meant to you until I saw how Dad reacted to his car being damaged. I feel sick about what I did, and I want to make it right somehow. For the first time since the weekend began, Tyler was speaking from his heart, rather than reciting lines coached by his parents. The experience of consequences had matured him dramatically, teaching lessons that years of parental enabling had failed to provide. Marcus's business associates began arriving at the house as news of the Mercedes destruction spread through Franklin's commercial real estate community. Marcus had been bragging about his investment-grade vehicle to clients and competitors for months, making the destruction a public humiliation beyond just financial loss. Marcus, we heard about what happened to your car, said James Crawford, a competing real estate developer who clearly enjoyed witnessing Marcus's downfall. That's unfortunate about the damage, but I'm sure your comprehensive insurance will cover the repairs. Marcus's face went white as he realized his lack of comprehensive coverage was about to become public knowledge among his business rivals. The insurance situation is more complicated than that, he mumbled, avoiding eye contact with the other developers. The police arrived after Marcus's frantic calls, but Officer Janet Williams delivered devastating news that completely undermined Marcus's legal strategy. Sir, I understand you're upset about the vehicle damage, Officer Williams explained patiently. However, since the minor who caused the damage is a family member acting on family property, without your explicit permission to prevent access, this falls under civil, rather than criminal jurisdiction. She continued with information that stunned Marcus and Sarah. The same legal principles would apply to the guitar destruction that occurred yesterday. If you want to pursue charges against the minor for property damage, both incidents would be evaluated under identical standards. Marcus realized that pursuing legal action against Tyler would also legitimize my potential claims against Tyler for the guitar destruction. The officer's explanation revealed that Marcus's threats were empty unless he wanted to face similar consequences for yesterday's accident. The climactic twist of this confrontation occurred when I produced my phone and played recordings I'd made of Marcus and Sarah's private conversations. The audio captured Marcus bragging about breaking that pretentious musician's spirit, and Sarah's admission that she'd coached Tyler to destroy my guitar. Everyone needs to hear what really happened this weekend. I announced to the assembled family members and Marcus's business associates. This wasn't Tyler's impulsive accident. This was calculated psychological warfare designed to destroy my career and humiliate me in front of our family. The recordings revealed Marcus and Sarah's true characters to everyone present. Family members listened in horror as Marcus described me as a pathetic loser and explained how they'd orchestrated the whole thing perfectly to teach me about understanding power dynamics. Marcus's business reputation began crumbling immediately as his associates realized they were witnessing a man who used children as weapons against family members. The recordings demonstrated Marcus's capacity for manipulation and cruel calculation, making potential business partners reconsider their relationships with him. Marcus, if this is how you treat family members, how can we trust you in professional negotiations? Asked Tom Bradley, a commercial loan officer who'd been considering financing Marcus's next development project. Sarah stood beside the destroyed Mercedes, watching her carefully constructed social status evaporate as the truth about her jealousy and manipulation became public knowledge. The relatives who'd applauded her wisdom about forgiveness now saw her as someone who'd weaponized her own child against her brother. Marcus made one final desperate attempt to regain control of the situation by offering me $50,000 to retract the recordings and publicly forgive Tyler for both the guitar and the Mercedes damage. This is obviously a misunderstanding that's gotten out of hand, Marcus announced to the crowd. I'm prepared to compensate August generously for his guitar and take responsibility for resolving this situation amicably. But the damage to Marcus's reputation was already spreading beyond the immediate family gathering. His business associates were making phone calls, sharing details about Marcus's character and judgment with other professionals in Franklin's commercial real estate community. Marcus's business empire began collapsing with shocking speed as the recordings of his cruel manipulation spread throughout Franklin's commercial real estate network. The audio clips became viral content within Nashville's music community, where session musicians and producers shared the story as a cautionary tale about respecting artists and their instruments. The first major blow came Monday morning when Marcus received a call from Pinnacle Bank, which had been financing his largest commercial development project. Bank President Robert Chen had heard the recordings through his daughter, who worked as a sound engineer at several Nashville recording studios. Mr. Whitman, after reviewing recent information about your professional conduct and family relationships, we've decided to reevaluate our loan terms for the Meadowbrook Shopping Center project, Chen informed Marcus during a tense conference call. Marcus's $20 million development deal required character references and community standing evaluations as part of the loan agreement. The bank's review committee determined that someone who manipulated children into destroying family members' property presented unacceptable risk for large-scale financial partnerships. This is a personal family matter that has nothing to do with my business qualifications, Marcus protested desperately. You can't make lending decisions based on private conversations taken out of context. But Chen's response was decisive. Mr. Whitman, our clients trust us to work with developers who demonstrate integrity and sound judgment in all aspects of their lives. The recordings suggest a pattern of calculated cruelty and manipulation that conflicts with our institutional values. Marcus lost 3 major projects within the first week as clients learned about his character through social media posts and community gossip. The story became particularly damaging because it involved a child being used as a weapon against an artist's livelihood, striking many people as fundamentally evil. Sarah's social isolation accelerated as extended family members and Franklin community leaders distanced themselves from someone who'd orchestrated such calculated destruction. Her position as the successful family member evaporated overnight as people realized her wealth was built on manipulation rather than merit. I can't believe Sarah would use Tyler that way, my Aunt Margaret told relatives during phone calls that week. Using your own child to destroy your brother's career is just sick. That poor boy didn't understand what he was really doing. Tyler's transformation continued as he grappled with understanding how his parents had manipulated him into hurting family members. He approached me during a private moment to ask questions that revealed his growing maturity. Uncle August, did Mom and Dad really plan for me to break your guitar? Tyler asked with the directness that only children possess. I knelt down to his level and answered honestly, "Tyler, your parents were angry because they thought I was becoming too successful with my music career. They used your natural excitement about guitars to hurt me in a way that would look like an accident." Tyler absorbed this information with the seriousness of someone learning that trusted adults had betrayed his innocence. "That makes me feel really bad inside. I thought I was just playing, but I was actually being mean to you because they told me to be mean." The most remarkable aspect of Tyler's growth was his determination to take responsibility for his actions, despite being manipulated by his parents. He got a part-time job at a local grocery store, bagging groceries and collecting shopping carts to earn money for guitar replacement funds. "I know Mom and Dad tricked me, but I still swung the bat," Tyler explained with wisdom beyond his years. "I need to fix what I broke, even if they told me to break it." Nashville's music community rallied around me in ways that exceeded my wildest expectations. The story of family betrayal and artistic destruction resonated with musicians who'd experienced similar challenges with relatives who didn't understand or respect creative careers. Carrie Underwood's production team reached out personally after hearing about the guitar destruction. Producer Jake Morrison called with an unexpected offer that would change my career trajectory permanently. August. "We've decided to provide you with a custom Gibson Les Paul specifically designed for our recording sessions," Jake explained. "The artist wants to support musicians who've faced family obstacles in pursuit of their craft." The replacement guitar was a 1958 Gibson Les Paul Standard, worth $12,000, featuring custom pickups and hardware that enhanced its recording capabilities beyond my original instrument. More importantly, the gesture connected me with a network of established artists who valued loyalty and mutual support. Marcus's insurance company launched an investigation into his claims history after discovering the recordings that revealed his pattern of manipulating property damage situations. Investigators found evidence suggesting Marcus had orchestrated suspicious accidents affecting business rivals' property while maintaining plausible deniability. "Mr. Whitman, our review has identified several claims involving convenient accidents that occurred to competitors' property shortly after business disputes," explained investigator Linda Rodriguez. "The pattern suggests a methodology that concerns our underwriting department." Marcus's remaining business licenses came under scrutiny as state regulatory boards reviewed his professional conduct. The recordings provided evidence of someone who used psychological manipulation and intimidation as business tools, violating several professional ethics standards. Sarah's marriage disintegrated as Marcus blamed her for orchestrating the family destruction that had ruined his business reputation. He filed for divorce, claiming Sarah's vindictive manipulation had cost him millions in lost development opportunities. "This is all your fault," Marcus screamed during one of their final arguments. "Your jealousy of your brother destroyed everything I worked for. I should have known better than to marry into a family of losers and troublemakers." The divorce proceedings revealed Marcus's true financial situation, which was much more precarious than his public image suggested. Most of his wealth was leveraged through loans secured by future project earnings that were no longer guaranteed. Extended family members who'd previously admired Sarah's marriage to a successful developer now saw her as someone who'd destroyed her family through jealousy and manipulation. The relatives who'd applauded her wisdom about forgiveness now avoided her calls and social invitations. Tyler continued working and saving money while developing a genuine interest in guitar playing under my instruction. Our weekly lessons became healing opportunities for both of us, as I taught him about music while he learned about responsibility and redemption. "Uncle August, will you really forgive me if I pay you back for the guitar?" Tyler asked during one of our practice sessions. "Tyler, real forgiveness isn't about money," I explained while showing him basic chord formations. "It's about understanding what you did wrong, taking responsibility for fixing it, and choosing to behave differently in the future. You're already doing all of those things." The recordings continued causing problems for Marcus as potential business partners researched his background. The audio clips served as permanent documentation of his character, making it impossible for him to rebuild his reputation through charm or public relations efforts. Marcus made increasingly desperate attempts to salvage his career, including offering me $100,000 to publicly retract the recordings and claim they were fabricated. But the damage was irreversible, and his desperation only confirmed the authenticity of the evidence against him. August, you have the power to save my business and my family, Marcus pleaded during a pathetic phone call. I'll pay whatever you want if you'll just tell people those recordings were fake or taken out of context. But I'd learned too much about Marcus and Sarah's true characters to enable their manipulation any further. The recordings revealed people who used cruelty as entertainment and viewed family relationships as opportunities for psychological warfare. Sarah's attempts to reconcile with extended family members failed, as relatives recognized her manipulative patterns in their own past interactions with her. Many family members realized they'd been manipulated by Sarah's subtle undermining campaigns for years. The most satisfying aspect of Marcus's downfall was watching him experience the same professional isolation and financial uncertainty that he'd tried to inflict on me. His arrogance and sense of superiority evaporated as he faced the consequences of using a child as a weapon against family members. Marcus's business collapse accelerated through the fall, as his reputation became toxic throughout Tennessee's commercial real estate industry. The final blow came when the state licensing board revoked his real estate development permits after reviewing evidence of his manipulative business practices and character defects. Mr. Whitman, the board has determined that your conduct demonstrates a pattern of deception and manipulation that makes you unsuitable for positions requiring public trust, Board Chairman Patricia Martinez announced during the formal hearing. Marcus's response revealed his complete inability to accept responsibility for his actions. This is persecution based on private family matters that have nothing to do with my professional qualifications. My business record speaks for itself. But the board's decision was unanimous and final. Marcus lost his licenses, his remaining projects, and his ability to work in Tennessee's development industry. He was forced to sell his remaining assets to cover legal fees and outstanding debts. The most poetic justice occurred when Marcus had to sell his damaged Mercedes to a scrap dealer for parts value. The investment-grade vehicle that had represented his status and success became worthless scrap metal, teaching him the lesson about material possessions that Sarah had tried to teach me. Sarah faced similar consequences as her social status and financial security crumbled. The divorce settlement left her with minimal assets, since most of Marcus's wealth had been leveraged through failed business deals. She moved into a modest apartment and took a retail job to support herself and Tyler. The transformation in Sarah's character was gradual but genuine. Stripped of her husband's wealth and social connections, she was forced to confront the jealousy and manipulation that had destroyed her family relationships. August, I need to apologize to you properly, Sarah said during a private conversation 6 months after the Mercedes incident. I was jealous of your success, and I used Tyler to hurt you because I couldn't stand watching you achieve your dreams while I felt trapped in a marriage I'd entered for the wrong reasons. Sarah enrolled in therapy to address the psychological issues that had driven her to weaponize her own child against family members. The sessions helped her understand how her choices had been motivated by fear and insecurity rather than practical wisdom. I convinced myself that marrying Marcus was the smart choice because it provided financial security, Sarah explained during one of our reconciliation conversations. But I was actually just afraid of taking risks or working hard for something meaningful, like you did with your music. Tyler's development continued exceeding everyone's expectations as he embraced responsibility and accountability. His part-time job taught him valuable lessons about earning money through honest work rather than manipulation or entitlement. Uncle August, I saved enough money to pay you back for your guitar, Tyler announced proudly after 8 months of consistent work. I also want to buy my own guitar, so you can teach me to play properly. Tyler presented me with $8,000 in carefully saved earnings from his grocery store job, along with tips from neighbors whose lawns he'd mowed and driveways he'd shoveled during winter months. More importantly, he developed genuine respect for other people's work and possessions. I accepted Tyler's payment, but immediately returned half of it as a gift to help him purchase his first quality guitar. Tyler, you've already shown me that you understand the value of hard work and taking responsibility. This money represents your character growth, which is worth more than any guitar. Nashville's music community continued supporting my career in ways that exceeded the value of my original guitar. The story of overcoming family betrayal resonated with artists who'd faced similar challenges, creating networking opportunities that accelerated my professional development. Carrie Underwood personally invited me to join her permanent touring band after several successful recording sessions. The position offered financial stability, creative fulfillment, and national exposure that transformed my career from local session work to major touring opportunities. August, your story about family challenges and musical dedication really speaks to our audience. Carrie explained during contract negotiations. Artists need to support each other, especially when family members don't understand the value of creative work. The touring position provided annual income exceeding $100,000, along with opportunities to collaborate with other major artists and producers. My professional success reached levels I'd never imagined possible when I was saving pennies to buy that first vintage Gibson. Marcus eventually left Tennessee entirely, moving to Florida, where he attempted to rebuild his career in a different market. But the internet age made reputation management impossible, and potential business partners consistently discovered his background through online searches. The final update I received about Marcus came through a mutual business contact who'd encountered him working as a sales associate at a luxury car dealership in Miami. The man who'd once commanded $20 million development projects was reduced to selling cars for commission payments. He looked broken, the contact reported. Marcus kept talking about how one family incident had destroyed his entire career, but he still couldn't understand that manipulating children into hurting family members revealed his true character. Extended family relationships healed gradually as relatives recognized the difference between Tyler's genuine transformation and his parents' calculated manipulation. The family learned valuable lessons about enabling destructive behavior versus supporting accountability and growth. Tyler and I developed a close relationship built on mutual respect and shared understanding of redemption through hard work. Our weekly guitar lessons became family traditions that strengthened bonds while teaching life skills. Uncle August, do you think I can become a good musician someday? Tyler asked during a particularly successful practice session. Tyler, you're already becoming a good person, I replied while listening to his improved chord progressions. Music is just one way to express the character you're developing through taking responsibility and treating other people with respect. The most meaningful aspect of Tyler's growth was his initiative in apologizing to other family members for past destructive behavior that his parents had enabled. He took responsibility for broken items and rude behavior from previous family gatherings, demonstrating maturity that impressed everyone. Sarah's journey toward redemption continued as she rebuilt relationships based on honesty rather than manipulation. Her therapy sessions provided tools for addressing the insecurity and fear that had driven her jealous behavior. I realize now that I was afraid of your independence and success, Sarah admitted during a family dinner, where she was rebuilding trust with relatives. I thought marrying Marcus would give me security, but it actually made me more insecure because my identity depended entirely on his achievements. The family established new boundaries and expectations based on accountability rather than blind forgiveness. Tyler's transformation became an example of how consequences and support could produce character growth rather than punishment, destroying potential. My replacement guitar became part of a signature sound that defined my touring career with major country artists. The 1958 Gibson Les Paul provided tonal qualities that exceeded my original instrument, proving that sometimes loss creates opportunities for even greater success. The life lesson that emerged from this experience was profound and lasting. True forgiveness requires acknowledgement of wrongdoing, accountability for damages, and commitment to change behavior. Family love needs boundaries and consequences rather than endless enabling of destructive patterns. Forgiveness doesn't mean accepting abuse or destruction without response. I learned to explain when people asked about my family situation. Real love sometimes requires letting people experience consequences so they can learn and grow rather than continuing to hurt themselves and others. Tyler's musical abilities developed remarkably under proper instruction and encouragement. Within 2 years, he was performing at local venues and considering serious music education as a potential career path. Uncle August, thank you for teaching me that mistakes don't define people, but how we respond to mistakes does, Tyler said, during a particularly meaningful conversation about his future plans. Our family story became a testament to the power of accountability, redemption, and the importance of not enabling destructive behavior in the name of unconditional love. True family support involves helping people become their best selves rather than protecting them from consequences. The final resolution brought deep satisfaction and emotional closure. Tyler had become a responsible, respectful young man who understood the value of hard work and treating others with consideration. Sarah was rebuilding her life based on authentic values rather than social climbing. Marcus faced appropriate consequences for his manipulative behavior. Most importantly, our family learned to distinguish between forgiveness and enabling, between love and manipulation, between protecting children and teaching them accountability. These lessons created stronger relationships built on mutual respect rather than fear or obligation. Looking back on that devastating weekend when Tyler destroyed my guitar, I realized that the experience had taught me something invaluable about standing up to bullies, protecting my professional goals, and helping family members grow through appropriate consequences rather than endless tolerance of destructive behavior. The story ended with Tyler and me performing together at our family reunion 2 years later, using music to celebrate healing growth and the power of redemption through accountability. Our performance represented everything beautiful about family relationship support without enabling love with boundaries and forgiveness earned through genuine change. As we played the final chord of our duet, I reflected on my grandmother's wisdom about the difference between forgiveness and being a doormat. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them experience the consequences of their actions so they can learn, grow, and become the person they're capable of being. Tyler had learned these lessons well, and our family was stronger for having experienced both the pain of betrayal and the joy of genuine redemption through hard work, accountability, and mutual respect. What do you think about the difference between forgiveness and enabling destructive behavior? Have you ever faced a situation where family members expected you to accept harmful treatment in the name of keeping peace? How do you balance love and boundaries when dealing with relatives who don't respect your work or achievements? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for listening to this story about family dynamics, accountability, and the power of consequences to create positive change. If this resonated with you, please give it a like, subscribe for more stories about overcoming family challenges, and share this with someone who might benefit from hearing about the difference between real forgiveness and enabling destructive patterns. Remember, you don't have to sacrifice your dreams or accept abuse to prove your love for family members. Sometimes the most caring thing you can do is help people learn from their mistakes rather than protecting them from the results of their choices.